What's up, folks? My name is DeQuarius Beverly, and thank you for tuning in to my video tonight. Just wanted to showcase a new project, a review on a gaming system that I was actually reluctant to pick up, only because I've already have an Xbox, and because we have such a wonderful subscription that Xbox has put up called the Xbox Gaming Pass. I was able to play a lot of games on my PC. But because I did get a chance for the first time to try out a gaming system with 60 frames per second, went on a 4K television, I can tell you guys it's a whole new trip and a whole new experience. You guys definitely got to check it out. And I've been able to do that with my PlayStation 5, which I actually talk about. But we're going to talk about, particularly in this video, the Xbox Series S, only because right now, as you guys already know, it's very difficult to find a lot of the systems right now. Xbox X is definitely one of the hardest ones to find. I was fortunate enough to get an invite from Sony, which was how I was able to purchase, and I actually talk about that more in another video. But again, I just wanted to showcase you guys just what my impressions is for this system. I've heard a lot of great reviews as far as online that this is a great system as far as 4K television experience, and then as well as you can play this system up to 120 frames per second, man, which is dope. And I'm really sick about right now that the fact that I do not have a 120K television at the moment, but that's okay, because even with YouTube right now, you can't even play anything at 120 frames per second. So 60 frames per second is pretty much the standard, and therefore we can actually be able to showcase gaming and play it on a whole brighter quality. So I'm definitely in the works of working on that. And again, we're gonna get straight to the review. So this right here, is the digital version. This does not have any type of disk drive. So unfortunately, for someone who's trying to play digital, that would be a downside. But for the most part, most of us play our games digitally now, and because Xbox has such a great experience for the Gaming Pass service that they provide, the only biggest thing that you're gonna need is gigabyte space, which ultimately you only get 512 gigabytes, and probably once you integrate all of their system hardware that's installed here, you're probably gonna be left with about 360 or something or so in that range. So for the most part, I just want to really just get into what we're gonna get inside of the system, what is actually different from the Xbox One S, which is what I had. I was fortunate enough to see that they actually had an opportunity to trade one in, so I just went ahead and traded mine in for this system at GameStop. And for the most part, you guys gonna be able to see let me go ahead and get a knife real quick. Let's do it. All right, there we go. Got the knife in here, unboxing it. All right, cool. All your dreams, man. So it's really slick, man, that you actually already get 24 months access for the Gaming Pass, which I think again is a great value for any gamer, because you don't have to feel the pressure of having to fork out $60 for a game that you might not even necessarily play or finish, or don't have the time to, like with some millennial adults now that grew up in this gaming industry. Isn't it crazy right now? Like, if you're a millennial right now, experience gaming how it is today in this world, man, it's pretty dope, man. I remember SCNS. Like, some of our viewers right now are like, what is that? Like, bro, this was before everything was digital. Everything you had to hook up by wire. And now we got it to the point where you're pretty much not even gonna have to hook up stuff like through a wire. I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. But let me stop rambling. All right. So, and again, the power system is pretty small, pretty slick. All right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and unwrap it. Yo, man, this thing is clean, guys. I'm really surprised at this little thing right here. It definitely feels like it holds about 500 gigs. I think I have a hard drive that holds like 500 gigs. That's about the size of this. But like, the fact that this little thing actually provides 120. You mean to tell me this little thing provides 120 frames per second, man? That's crazy. But the fact that it even starts with 60 frames per second, this is way smaller than my PS5, as well as it's much more smaller than the Xbox One S, which is what I had. And it's cool, man. So we're gonna go ahead and hook it up. All right, here's the cords, of course. You got your cords, you got your HDMI. All right. And then we got the controller. We got the controller right here. All right. Here we go. Nah, don't tell me, man. Wow, they still got the AA batteries for their controllers, man. I don't know why they don't have something rechargeable, man. Like, this is crazy. Here we go. We're gonna go ahead and put in the batteries. We in there. All right, so this controller actually feels, you can definitely tell from the difference between this controller. Let me just show you guys an Xbox One controller. So yeah, you can definitely see and tell that these controllers are much different just from off the bat. So it's definitely a new gen remote based on the style and the feel. It definitely feels a lot. I actually like the way this feels more, to be honest. I just think it feels a lot better. This controller definitely feels next gen level. Like, I'm definitely liking the texture on how this controller feels versus than the One S. All right, so here's the jacks right here. Getting things set up. There's the jack right here. HDMI right there. All right, so we're gonna plug it up. As you guys can see here with the gameplay, man, I mean, playing Halo Infinite and being able to play at 60 frames per second is just dope, man. I'm really impressed just on how compatible this hardware is and how it's able to play just, you know, higher resolution games as well as being able to play it at 60 frames per second. This is truly just a next gen experience, honestly. I mean, if once you really get a chance to check out 60 frames per second gameplay in comparison to 30 frames, you'll definitely see the difference, and it definitely gives you that new experience vibe just on the simple fact that you're just having a higher resolution as well as a faster, smoother gameplay. And I really enjoy that with this system, and the fact that you know, it's picking up, it shows a great quality picture even though it's not at 4K resolution. Most people still don't have a 4K TV, but the fact that, you know, most you know, flat panel TVs do have a standard 60 frame hertz television that can play 60 frames per second, you're still without the experience of being able to truly experience how fast and how smooth this gameplay is actually shown here. At the time of this video, I didn't get a chance to record at the 60 frames per second, unfortunately, but obviously, like I said, you know, it is a really faster and smoother gameplay in how you choose to play your games. Another cool thing about the Xbox is just the fact that you do have the Xbox Gaming Pass. As you can see here, the large library of games that you can pretty much download on the spot. And even if you have, like I said, an external hard drive, you can pretty much install your games into that hardware. And if you have like a game that has, like you see here, the XS symbol on the game, that's just simply stating that it plays up to 60 frames per second, and then you'll have a higher resolution gameplay, and you can actually update and upgrade the game to be able to play at 60 frames per second. But any other game that you see here can pretty much play from the installation of your external hard drive. So you don't have to transfer the files over to your internal hard drive. You can just simply play the game right off the internal hard drive. Any game that you're playing at X that has the X or S symbol, you will have to transfer the game over to your internal hard drive to be able to update and play at the higher resolution and quality that it's designed to play at. So that may be an inconvenience for some people, but if you know for certain you're going to play a certain game and it's something that you want to experience at high def, then obviously it would be worth to you to just simply transfer the file over and be able to play the game at the standard definition that it's designed to play at. And you know, with you being able to pick up this hardware now still at stores, I think it's definitely a great bargain to pretty much get introduced to how games are going to be the standard and how we play our video games, which is 60 frames per second. So I'm very much well impressed on just how inexpensive this system is, and on the fact that the large library of games that you have access to. As you can see here on my screen, I got over 100 games downloaded into my 2 terabyte system, and this is just games that I've downloaded over the time of me having my Xbox One S. And the fact is, like I said, you can pretty much play games right off the hard drive and not have to necessarily worry about worrying about having to transfer the game over to your internal hard drive, which is only going to leave you with 325 gigabyte space. So you can probably download about maybe 10 to 15 games depending on the file size on the system. I'm probably exaggerating that amount. It might probably be like 10 games or something like that, depending on the file size. So most of the games I downloaded are like about 40 gigs. So yeah, you pretty much do the math there. So, but yeah, man, it's dope. Like, you can pretty much play right off the hard drive, and I didn't even have to download this game. So, I mean, for me, I already had an Xbox One S, and I was only playing at 60 frames. And the fact that I didn't even really use the disk drive that much, it just only made sense for me to just go ahead and go ahead and trade it in, and get the one that's going to allow me to play at 60 frames per second. Because playing Halo at 30 frames after you've been able to play games at 60 frames per second, it doesn't really, you can tell the quality of difference between 30 frames and 60 frames. So I think this is where the selling point is for me. It's just really just that frame rate, being able to play at a smoother, higher quality, and just being able to ultimately, play any game of your choice on a hard drive and not having to worry about, taking up space of games that you have a large library like myself, where it gets pretty spacious and pretty much heavy to transport games over from one place to another. So I like the idea of having a lot of my games downloaded now, just because I don't have to worry about the transport space of having to hold all those games. I know a lot of us millennials and old school gamers, like to see our collection, but for me, I'm just like, look, the less space, the better for me. And if I can just play something and have it all downloaded internally into my hard drive, hey, I'm all for it, honestly. So for the most part, I'm really definitely enjoying this system so far. I like the fact ultimately we have the quick resume feature, which basically gives us that option to pretty much resume right where we left off from a game and not having to close out the game automatically, which I think is a new perk that I would like to see in all systems, just because ultimately you don't want to have that pressure of having to, resume from a game and having to worry about your save file. You can pretty much close out the game and it will pretty much leave you right where you left off without having to save. And that's a pretty dope feature. I definitely hope that Nintendo and Sony pick up that feature in their hardwares, so therefore we can pretty much have that true experience all the way around. But I think Xbox definitely made a great move with having that feature in place, so it's definitely something that I think that we will see more in the future as far as a way of how we experience our games, because of the fact that feature being available. For me, my biggest issue with this system is the fact that it ultimately doesn't give you the option to upgrade your internal hard drive. I think it would have been dope if they actually had gave us the option to pick between a 500 gigabyte and a terabyte, just because ultimately, now most games are about 100 gigs minimum. Basically, the bigger popular titles like the Halo Master Chief Collection easily is over 100 gigs. You got Gears 5, which is over 100 gigs at just about. And the fact is that a lot of those bigger titles can easily eat up a lot of your gigabyte space. So I think the standard should now be just a minimum of a terabyte, just because a lot of the game files are a lot bigger now to play and maintain at a high resolution. So I think just having a terabyte would have been a good standard to have, just because it's really inexpensive now to get a terabyte hard drive now. But ultimately you do have the choice to pretty much buy a Seagate brand hard drive that allows you to be able to externally use to install your games and transfer files over. So it's very convenient to have that feature still, even though it would have been nice to have an internal higher gigabyte space. But for the most part, I definitely am enjoying the system, and I think definitely for someone who's not a heavy gamer, or just wants something that's inexpensive to give to as a gift, I think any person that receives this system is going to be completely satisfied, just because of the large library of Xbox Pass games that are already available to play. I mean, you have such a great selection of games that is going to cater to the casual as well as the hardcore gamer. And being that they're always updating games weekly, you're gonna get a variety of update games that you ultimately would have probably never purchased, but the fact that you would be grateful that you're able to play these games at such a bargain price for only $14.99 a month. So
Anybody that's getting this system, you do have to have some type of subscription base or be able to purchase games digitally to install on your system, because obviously you won't have that disk drive that you can be able to play games and worry about pretty much installing those games through disk. You'll have to install it through digital. So again, great system, and I'm definitely grateful to be experiencing it. As you can tell, I'm pretty much well impressed with this system. I mean, this is a great entry-level way to get into the new gen industry of playing games at 60 frames per second, as well as experiencing this game system at at a higher resolution. Now, it's not at native 4K, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, you're still getting a good quality picture to be able to play this game at 60 frames per second. I think that's pretty much the standard once you really check out the difference on how games are played now on this hardware. And the fact that you're getting this at a bargain price, I definitely think it's worth it, considering that you're getting a great library of games that you can pretty much download on the spot, and just with an external hard drive that allows you to pretty much download and install those games into your internal hardware. You're not without options. So even if you don't have that disk drive, Xbox got plenty of game options where you can pretty much play and download and experience at a 60 frames per second, even some of the older games. So I definitely think it's a great bargain. I definitely think anyone that purchases this system will not be disappointed based on my experience, and the fact that you get the quick resume experience to be able to resume from your games that you left off at and not have to worry about it closing out another game. I think that's definitely something that PlayStation will want to implement maybe in their next update or hardware, because the fact that be able to play multiple games and be able to resume it without having to worry about exiting out your game, I think that's a really cool feature alone, just with the update that this series has been updated for Xbox. So if you guys like this video, definitely tell me what your thoughts are with the Xbox Series S. What's been your impressions with it? Do you enjoy it? Let's chat about it and hang about it at the comments below. And again, my name is Dequarius Beverly. Thank you for tuning in to my video. If you like more content like this, then definitely subscribe, as I will be sharing my reviews on my impressions on different systems and games that I've been enjoying on my Xbox Series S. And again, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.